You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
Before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you a little bit about our current sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. As you well know, if you've been following This is Oklahoma, they've been a huge part of this podcast. So this podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, telling an Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof. Also, for the podcast, a new sponsor, RCB Bank. Since 1936, RCB Bank has offered progressive products and a friendly service. Come in today to find out more about their loan promotion on new, used, refinanced cars, boats, campers, and ATVs. Visit RCB Bank to learn more. RCB Bank, that's my bank. With approved credit, restrictions apply. Now, let's get into today's episode.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode down at the Bedford studio today to talk food and technology. I love talking about food. Not great at technology, but we're going to learn about it today. Gents, thank you so much for coming down. The business is TapTapEat, and we're going to learn a lot about that today. But before we do dive into the app and the business that you have created, tell people listening who you are and I guess a little bit about your Oklahoma story.
So I'm Mark Thompson, and I'm one of the kind of co-owners and founders of TapTapEat. I was born in Oklahoma, lived here for 18 years, went to Edmond Memorial High School and graduated there. Spent 8 years in Fayetteville, Arkansas, having gone to college there, and then eventually found my way back here to Edmond. So I'm all but 8 years of my 42. That sounds old.
We can edit that out if you want.
No, I'm proud. I'm proud of it. Are Oklahoma, and my parents live here. I'm Oklahoma through and through.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that Oklahoma, but I'm Sam. I'm one of the other co-owners, co-founders of TapTapEat. Really one of the big reasons why I'm in Oklahoma is this is where my grandfather decided to retire when he got out of the Air Force. My family traveled. We were a pastor's family, lived in multiple cities in California, moved to Texas, and went to Southern Nazarene because that was the local college on that district, and found a job right out of college and have been here in Oklahoma since pretty much 1997.
Yeah. And TapTapEat for you guys kind of obviously started as most businesses do, right? Started as kind of a side hustle, and for some of you it still is, right? You know, it's kind of your thing. So before we get into like food and tech, how do you get where does your like passion for tech and food begin? Where does that come from?
I don't know. My passion is probably more tech than food, although it's evolved. As we've grown our clients and we've gotten to know different business owners and stuff. The food side is coming on, but no, I was caught up in kind of a big oil and gas downturn in 2015, 2016, 2017, somewhere in there. Working at Kimray Oil and Gas, and people were getting laid off left and right, and I kind of at the second layoff process, I was like, man, what I wouldn't give for 3 months severance to try some new idea, because I was kind of tired of getting dragged around, the ups and downs of oil and gas. And so I had some technical skill, and just kind of the wheels started turning, and then was running one day with Sam. Sam and I ran together a lot years ago, but we were still trying to beat each other on the track. And we just were chatting, and our skill sets just combined to form one full skill set. I guess we're kind of two halves of somebody who's maybe really talented. So we started talking, and it's like, hey, I think we could do this. And I was not nervous. Let's see, I was so loosely attached at that point to my job and where that career was going that it was like, I'll do whatever. Like,
perfect opportunity to try something,
exactly,
right? Because it's either that or get another job. And this is the time that most people some of people are stuck in 9 to 5 jobs, right, or 8 to 6 or whatever it is, and they would love 3 months to go trial something.
I wanted it. I didn't get laid off.
Yeah.
So we actually pitched our first contract agreement. and got it, and then I didn't get laid off. And so those first 6 months of working on, trying to get it to production were really spent from, 9 p.m. to 3 a.m.
The real start of life, wouldn't it? Yeah, kids to bed, and I'm going to work for as long as I can.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And then wake up and go to work the next day.
Yeah. Sam, what about you?
Yeah, kind of that intersection between food and technology. I would say it almost seemed to be only afforded to these billion-dollar companies that could put together these IT technology teams or spend the money to make really slick applications work for their business. And running with Mark, and I saw some of the stuff that he built for Oklahoma Christian and the team that we coached together there. I knew he had the skill set on the front end, and where I come from, I had the skill set kind of on the infrastructure on the back end. I was like, oh, sure. He approached me, and I was like, well, this is fun. I've kind of always wanted to develop because I've been mainly focused on infrastructure, and so I got to be able to throw in with him and do some development work, and been having a blast. I still kind of do TapTapEat on the side, and Mark still does it, full time. But what we essentially wanted to do is be able to offer that technology to small and medium sized restaurants to be able to kind of compete with the big dogs, and that's kind of where it intersected, where it came from.
Yeah, and it was always centered around ordering food then.
Always.
Yeah.
I every morning when I would drive to Kimray to work, I would literally be brushing my teeth and ordering my Starbucks coffee at the same time because I didn't want to waste a second of sleep.
Yeah,
so
of course.
It just kind of dawned on me. There were other companies kind of doing this, but it was not prevalent, especially in the Oklahoma City area at that time, 2016. And I just thought, I could build this. I need restaurants to partner with, but I could build them something good. I just need to try.
Yeah, and then like I said, you need to pitch somebody, right? And once you have it set up and that person says yes, you're like, oh shoot, this is actually happening now. Like, we have a business now, right? You're like, it's all great, and it's all an idea until someone says, let's do it. And it's great that it's free to them, right? Isn't it? And the whole system, it's free to them until they get an order through it, and then it comes through that way, which it's brilliant. It's no brainer for them because it's all the work and all the initial work's on your end, isn't it? And it's like, once people figure this out, like, I'm sure the business has grown last year with COVID and everything else, and from that initial idea, it's great to see, and I'm glad that we're in to talk about it. So who was that first business then? Are they still around?
They're still around.
Meaning, are they still in the restaurant business? Not like, are they still a part? Because restaurant business is cutthroat, as we all know.
So I knew one person. I don't know if Sam knew people, but I knew one person in restaurants, and they were with Alfredo's Mexican Cafe, and he was a friend growing up. His name's Kelly Allen, and he was kind of operating as the general manager for Alfredo's, and I knew the ownership family as well, kind of friends with their daughter. So I, literally we went to the one entry point to restaurants that I knew. And kind of we were eager, and we were like, do you want this? And it's kind of funny. Kelly said, well, yeah, that sounds good, but why don't you build us a catering management system first? Because that's kind of a pain point for us right now. And I was so eager to do something. Yeah, it was like, oh, okay,
sure, yeah. How hard can that be?
Yes.
Right?
And Sam laughs because Sam's kind of always my voice of reason. And I'll say yes to just about any development project or functionality enhancement that somebody wants. I'm like, I'll have it done, next week. And Sam just laughs at me.
So you have no idea what you're doing yet, do you? Trying to figure it out.
There's a factor of like 2 or 4. You just need a double or a quadruple.
Yeah.
It's probably more realistic.
Yeah. You're better off with like, what is it, saying I'll get, it'll be done in a month, and then in a week you're like, I've done it, or in 2 weeks you've done it, rather than saying I'll do it in a week, and you're like, oh,
I've learned.
I can't have a life.
I've gotten better.
7 days. So for you take those 3 months, you get the first client, and then it's like, it works for them, which is I guess they were kind of like the first tester, right? They're like, the first one. It's real world. It's being applied, and they're seeing, you can take those results of what they're saying to you to others and be like, look, this works. Like, what do you think? So is that after that you guys thought, I mean, this is a thing now, as well as working full time.
Well, I had quit. We got close to production. March of 2017 is when we finally went to production, just with catering on their side. And they had a pretty established catering business, and I realized, and Sam probably remembers, we had dinner together one time. We were talking about the business, and it was like, we're gonna fall on our faces if we don't have somebody full time supporting them during the day. I can't do my job somewhere else,
and you have your phone going off,
and have my phone going off, and not being able to do it. And so I kind of took that leap of faith, and I was lucky to be in a spot where I could. My wife was working, had full-time insurance and benefits, and it's just kind of, as probably most business ideas, there's a certain timing to it, and it just kind of came together where I could see I'm going to jump off into this and sink or swim, but I think we can swim. Kind of how it happened. Yeah,
that must have been a fun conversation to have, right?
I don't know. It was
with me, or
well, I mean, just like also like with you and your wife to say like, I'm going to give this a go, but also like to be like, it's here now. Like what we've been working on is here.
I would say that our wives are like really a key to that success.
Absolutely.
You got to have that support. Otherwise, it's not going to be, it's rocky enough to try to start a business, let alone not to have support. So it's been pretty good there.
Yeah. So for people listening who are like, what is the app? What does it all work out? Like, explain exactly then what TapTapEat is before we go any further, because there might be people pulling out their eyes right now thinking, what are you talking about?
Yeah, how much time do you have?
A long time. You said you were free all night, so
at its core, it's food ordering for customers, and then what's key is really how we get that data, the order data, into the restaurants.
Okay.
But our biggest part of our product is just you can go to All American Pizza, go to their website. There's a big order now button that puts you into our portal. It's just a web portal, and we take really great pride in making the menu completely functional. So you want a Hawaiian pizza, but take the pineapples off the left half and add onions and jalapenos to the right half. Whatever you can do, and whatever charges and everything are associated with that, we really want to give that to the customer, and we do it in a way that doesn't bog them down in the checkout process, and in a way that honors the restaurant's rules. So all of our restaurant clients will tell us like, well, can customers do that? Well, yes, they can. We don't really want them to, so let's tuck it way down here and make it a little bit harder to get to, so that we kind of encourage them to order what they should be ordering.
Gotcha.
But a lot of detail goes into that, and then we'll transact the payment, and then once the payment is transacted, we'll actually send that order information to the restaurant and then to their printers in the kitchen. And that's a key part of our process is, one of our Mexican restaurants, they've got 4 printers in the kitchens for different food stations. So literally, within seconds after the order goes in online, there's nobody that has to sit there to receive it on some tablet or a phone call or anything like that.
Yeah.
It just starts printing right up alongside their in-store orders. That's kind of
seamless.
Yeah.
Right? Like
the idea.
The idea is to make it as effortless and as easy for someone to order, and also someone on the other side to receive that order.
Two sides of it,
I'm sure like people have dealt with other stuff in the past, or then when new technology comes out, right? There's nothing worse than you getting a phone call and say this order's wrong, and the restaurant getting a bad review about it, and like, it's not my fault.
Sure. Who's to blame on there?
Yeah, right. And you don't want to be on the hook for any of that either, because you're providing a service, aren't you?
Right.
So with that data, then, can you give that data like of what these customers are ordering, like all that valuable information that comes through ordering, being a consumer on the other side, all the value that the business would love, you get to give them that as well?
We do,
That's the value to them, right? That's huge. That's really valuable.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Whereas something that kind of we're dealing with now is that there's a lot of platform apps where those restaurants are potentially giving their customers information over to a platform app. What we're essentially offering is, we are your online ordering system. All the data goes through it is yours: email addresses, phone numbers, delivery addresses, assuming the customer wants to receive that stuff. And it's extremely valuable because they're can draw from it and continue to communicate and have those connection points with those customers because it is their online ordering system.
Yeah, and you give that to the marketing department and they run with it. Well, some of them are the business that they are the head of everything, right?
Yeah.
It's a small business, and if you're spending ads on Facebook or wherever it is that you're doing your marketing and you don't have you have a limited amount of marketing dollars, that information is extremely valuable. I'm sure you've had some great reviews from businesses and continue to have reviews. Are we up to 140 location stores now that have using it?
I don't have an exact count, but that's pretty
I think
close,
the website today said 140.
Okay, there you
and
go.
I think the orders were at like 65,000, maybe?
Multiply by 10, so it's 150,000.
I'm missing a zero. That's not freaking bad, is it? For
That's
a few
a lot of
years,
orders.
yeah. And you're like, people always ask me, when you look at like reach and following and stuff like that, like how do you quantify that? I'm like, put it in a stadium, right? Or put it in multiple stadiums, and then you realize how many orders and butts in seats. Like, that's a lot of meals. Even if it's one person ordering, they're using the same restaurant on a Friday for the last 4 years. Like, that's 200 orders or whatever it is. Like, that's pretty awesome to have that. So now you know what TapTapEat is, and you have businesses around Oklahoma, or are they all over the country?
Around Oklahoma.
Okay.
We've got a couple. We've been a little bit in Texas and just one City Bites location that's in Wichita.
Yeah.
But primarily we've been in Oklahoma. We'd love to eventually expand a little bit bigger, but we've really just been in our backyard so far.
Yeah, and still, like, in the grand scheme of a business, still early on, like, it's profitable. You've got a team now, so you have a few employees now on board. Which, I mean, how was it when you got to that first point and you're like, we can hire somebody now?
Yeah, it was. Every process is. Excuse me. From the. Sorry, that pork katsu from Sandwich.
We'll get to that later.
Every decision point in a growing business, as I'm sure you're aware, is it's just new. It's a new territory. Like, how do we do this? Well, we figure it out. Well, do we have enough money to do this? Well, maybe not. What is our predicted future earnings or profit or loss? Well, we don't know because it's brand new. So it was really exciting. We got down to what was it? Kind of fall 2019, and we're starting to see pretty solid, monthly revenues. And we had 3 interns at the time. We called them interns. They were paid, hourly, but we like to refer to them as interns. And they were college kids. A couple from Oklahoma Christian University, and then one from OU. And the first one was getting ready to graduate. And so we thought, well, he's experienced now. He knows what we do and how we do it. So let's pull him on full time. And the timing really was just ideal. Perfect, for us to be able to afford him. And then we saw the next one was going to graduate that April of 2020, and we thought, well, if we just continue this trajectory, then we'll probably have enough to hire him too. And then the third one literally graduated the next December. So we had them just kind of lined out, and we're planning a nice linear trajectory of revenue to be able to actually afford help. And we were getting excited about that. And then the pandemic.
And then March rolls around.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, that might have been good to some degree in the long run, right?
Oh yeah.
But initially,
it was kind of
what happens when the NBA sends people home in Oklahoma on a Wednesday? Like, what's going through your mind so that's happening?
So I guess we're not tired of talking about the pandemic yet.
I'm interested because I think, it makes total sense to me that it's perfect timing. As bad as the pandemic is, it's been great for some businesses, and many which have been on my podcast and told me about it. I think one of these businesses is probably you've been successful because of what has happened in the pandemic, right? There's been a good effect from it, and you guys might have.
We were fortunate to be where we were.
Right.
Well, nobody planned the pandemic.
Of course not.
We thought there's probably some organic growth to online ordering over the next few years, so we're in a good spot here, but certainly didn't.
Right. Online businesses were very, successful during the pandemic because it was easy to order and people would take out. Thankfully, restaurants developed to take, some of them didn't have takeout, did they? And now they do, which is thankful to most people.
I feel like the pandemic accelerated a lot of things that were kind of already in the works. a lot of restaurants were, looking at online ordering, looking at some takeout, and then all of a sudden pandemic hit and you had to have it. And that's where, the phone just went nuts. And not just the phone went nuts, it was our existing clients. All of them wanted brand new menus. All of them changed everything. And the business, doubled online because it had to.
Right.
So it was, I think for a lot of our clients, we're really, really happy to have a local, online ordering company to be able to pick up the phone and call and not have to wait, on hold to try to figure out how to make some adjustments to a menu. So it's, you can go talk to them and they'll kind of sing our praises. And I think it's just been really awesome to work with a bunch of local Oklahoma restaurants.
Yeah, no doubt.
With a local Oklahoma, technology company.
Yeah, because you're right. Like, there's nothing worse than being stuck on hold, right? And like the rest of the country is also on the line. Every restaurant in the world's every restaurant in the country is trying to get a hold of whatever system that they're all using. And
so the story on that week of the pandemic, though, we remember, I think, because we're from Oklahoma, and it was the Thunder game that kind of kicked everything off on a Wednesday night. And Sam and I had been talking, just a day prior, and I remember telling Sam, like, I'm a little close to kind of being anxious or somewhat burned out. And I was in grief. My wife had passed away a month earlier. And I was starting to get back into work, and I was starting to feel like, and Sam, just said, "Hey, just start taking, a day off every week during the week. Just take a day,
go back running, go
take care of yourself." Yeah. And I thought, oh, awesome, I'll do that. Thanks, Sam. And then
not like some business partners like, you need to be in work now.
And then the Thunder game happened, and then we were really sitting around, that Thursday or Friday, kind of mulling over the idea of like, I wonder if the pandemic that is now fastly upon us, are we gonna see some like decline, or are we gonna see some growth, or we literally, maybe we're just kind of stupid. I don't know.
No, everyone was in that position, right? Because every industry for the most part,
we literally had no idea what was about to happen. And then, the next week, Governor shuts down, in-store dining, and we're watching our numbers, and they go up and up and up, and there was a feeling of, wow, like, our revenue this month is going to be a lot more than we thought, And it was exciting, and we started seeing kind of record days, and then into literally maybe 7 or 10 days later, we had grown our sales by a factor of 3. So the number of customers hitting our sites, the number of orders going through, the load on our system was a 1, now it's a 3, and stuff is starting to fail.
Right, yeah.
You can't grow. I don't know. We could not have foreseen that.
Sure.
And so we didn't have, the correct infrastructure in place. Some of our core functionality was breaking, and it went from being, this is pretty cool, this is exciting.
So we have legit growing pains right now.
For quite a while, actually. So, like I said, I was going to take a day off each week, and then as soon as that hit, I literally think I worked the next 60 days straight, including the weekends. Like, it just didn't stop, because we didn't have the staff either.
Right.
I had one full-time employee at the time, and nobody to just hire immediately to train up and know the system. So
and some of the tech stuff, like you do it because you understand it and have developed it, and it's like if you try and explain it to whoever, like
we needed help.
Not gonna work.
We needed help, but we didn't have enough time to even train up any sort of help. So we just plowed through it. Sam and I had a lot of late nights. And a lot of all day Saturdays where we're just trying to tread water and stay, ahead of the whatever potential problem might happen next.
Well, there's there's so many quotes about in panic situations you grow more than the growth comes from that stuff, right? But as a small business and as a kind of still a startup, you are, like I said, no one planned the pandemic. It's just thrown at you. And it's like, okay, can we figure this out? Or is this going to be the end of TapTapEat? And it's going to be the end of it because of we were getting so much success that our systems are failing. And, like I said, for 60 days, it must have just been serious pain.
It
every
really
day,
was.
you're in the battle, in the trenches, in your laptop, I guess, every day for 60 days, staring at that screen, drinking Starbucks all day.
It was. I remember fearing Friday nights. Because that's when everybody's ordering online. It was the normal load, and then a Friday night, it was like, are we going to be able to print tonight? We used a third-party print service, and and the writing was on the wall. They even said they were going to abandon their product at the end of the year. So we knew we had to rewrite it.
Yeah.
But it was it's just that's kind of our core functionality is being able to take that online order and print it. And within a few weeks, we were rewriting that thing to get it out, and then we had to convert all of our systems that did any kind of printing over to our own homegrown printing system.
Yeah.
But now it's been, it's easy to look back a year later, like it's my kind of like a rock in our business, being able to print an order to a kitchen.
Yeah.
On our own technology that we built, as fast as we possibly could. So I woke up, we had a couple bad Friday nights, like Sam said.
Of course, it happens.
And so our system gets jammed up, and not only are we not printing orders, but if you try to go and access the dashboard to view the orders, you couldn't get in because we were jammed up.
It's so much.
And so customers are showing up ready for their food, and of course, everybody's, the pandemic has got everybody on edge, and so the poor managers of our clients, they're taking the brunt of this anger by the customers, and I knew it, and we felt horrible, and we were working as fast as we could to fix it. But I remember waking up on a Saturday morning in April after some Friday night failure to, our largest client at the time, their CEO. I've got a text message waiting for me. I probably stayed up till 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know what's happening, but this needs to be fixed by tonight, or else we're pulling out.
Yeah.
That's the
serious
load
text,
of stress that we were under, and so we pulled it. And said some prayers and kept
figured
going.
it out.
So,
and now you're on the other side of it, and like I said, if that happens, if you get an influx or an increase in business that large, you have a system that can fix that now.
That's right. Yeah, it made us better.
Yeah.
And it was incredibly stressful, and a lot of people probably have a similar type of stories, but we just didn't. We wanted to, number one, to service the people who are our clients the best that we could. I mean, you take it personally.
Of course you do. Yeah. So you get through that, right? You go through this, like every business is having problems, right? Even on restaurants having issues. And I think being in Oklahoma, it seemed that like there was a grace period, right? Of people who understand that this is not normal. We're figuring it out. I think if you might have been in a northern state where people don't give you grace periods, like being in Oklahoma probably helped. But you get through that and you start to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and orders are coming through, you're printing, taking on, triple the amount of business. Where then, from that point, you start seeing into the future, and it gives you time to breathe and plan then, doesn't it? Like, how do you plan for the future? And if we can take this on, then we can get to not just tending to the business that we have, but then growing the business, right? And it's hard enough dealing with incoming orders, but if you're not actively growing the business every day, then there might not be orders coming at the end of a month, 2 or 3 month period, building a pipeline. So where do you go from there to like find new business, get involved, and I guess build the future of TapTapEat out of the city, out of the state, and not a 5-year plan, because people make plans that very rarely do you stick to that. But what's that next phase after the initial pandemic hit?
Before a strategic planning comment, I would kind of just bump back during that pandemic. We did have problems, but on the flip side, I know all the restaurants were having problems.
Yeah,
they could only take call-in orders, and a lot of restaurants only have one phone line.
Yeah,
which means you can only take one order for however long that takes. Even if you have 4 phone lines, which is maybe average for a larger restaurant, they can only take 4 orders and you've got to have 4 people to take those orders.
Yeah,
that's where online ordering just our system theoretically can take 1,000 orders a second. We can take tons of orders. So we were different times we were overloaded, but at the same time we were just a lifeline to a lot of the restaurants in the community to be able to just get orders, because the community wanted to support them.
Right, that was encouraged, right? It was encouraged to go out and shop local and eat local and do that. And
I don't know what the stat is. Somewhere between 20 and 30% restaurants, had to close down because they just couldn't make it during the pandemic. But being able to at least accept an order online was a way for the restaurant to be able to get paid. It's
Yeah.
just nice. Oklahomans, working for Oklahomans, literally serving Oklahomans. So
Yeah.
it's kind of nice.
Yeah, our kind of close to home story with that. I know you've interviewed Rachel Cope, and we had been hitting up the 84 Hospitality Group, trying to get their concepts, to partner with us, and had been. We piqued their interest, but we weren't successful yet. And they had Goro Ramen in the Plaza District, and Goro didn't have an online ordering solution, and so. They were getting phone calls just ringing off the hook, but they were also getting posts on their Instagram that said, "Hey, I tried to order, the phone was busy like 8 times in a row. I'm going elsewhere." So it was just
literally losing
blatantly
business.
obvious to them that they were losing business.
Yeah.
And we drove down to Goro. Our salesperson Angela and I drove down to Goro on a Friday afternoon, with our masks on during the pandemic, and kind of got contract agreements with them, installed our device on their network, and they were calling us all day Saturday, like, "Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready?" We're like, "No, this takes time to do it right. I don't want to overlook something, and then suddenly we've lost thousands of dollars because there's bad data."
Right.
In the
Well, this
system.
is your one chance too, right? Because
Yes.
of 84 Hospitality, they have a bunch of concepts in the city, and everyone talks, don't
Yeah.
they? So you don't want to ruin that first opportunity.
No,
by
but
rushing.
they pushed us as fast as we could go, and finally at 4:30 p.m. on Saturday, 24 hours later, we put them into production. They posted on their Instagram, "Hey, order now," through this link, and literally did $2,600 between 4:30 p.m. and closing on a Saturday, and it was like, what just happened?
Light bulb.
What just happened here?
They saw it.
Yeah. And so it's stories like that. We just were working as fast as we possibly could. So
Yeah. So now it's slowly building out and going into the future now, right? It's now that restaurants are starting to open back up. Hopefully it helps more, but it's more about restaurants succeeding, and now that hopefully they've stayed afloat through it, and are now coming back and opening up to more.
there are the space is getting much more competitive for us. So we really didn't meet much competition in our local area for a few years there. It was kind of a nice place to be. It's like, well, we'll just kind of grow as we grow. But out of the pandemic, now there's a lot of different solutions out there.
People see that idea and they're like, we can do this. And they cut margins, right, to compete with you guys. And now you have to, value, and your customer comes to you as a value client, and hey, this company just came in and said they'd cut whatever you guys get by 5% or whatever, and you're like, now we have to rethink, and it's.
But coming out of the pandemic, what we're finding, restaurants are very understaffed right now. And the ownership, is literally having to go into the kitchen to work. One of our clients told me, is like, I'm supposed to have 14 people on staff, and I have 5, and that includes me and my wife, and they just can't get people to work right now. So it's been a bit of a dry season for us in terms of growth in number of clients, largely because the owners don't even have time to talk to you. So we're seeing that. It's just this kind of yo-yoing effect of the pandemic and how it is affecting the different industries and different types of business. It just keeps on going. I don't feel like we're quite clear of it yet.
Yeah, because like you guys have gone through it. You guys are ready and are on the other side of it, but now they're not. Right? It's the opposite.
That's
It's like, hey, we're ready when you are, but they're not getting orders, or they are getting orders, but the staff. It's we were into vacation in Florida last week, and I'm like walking in. There's 8 of us with the family, and I'm like, there's tables everywhere. And they're like, it'll be an hour. Like, what? And then I realized, like, it's because you guys don't have anyone to, do the tables. Like, great, I guess I'll sit at the bar for an hour, which it sucks, right? It sucks to be a consumer, but it also sucks to be on the other side, because like we've got people wanting to come in, and turnover would be great if we could get people in and out, and it means more money, but we will finally hopefully get the other side of it, and people will stop getting checks and get back to work. Hopefully. But yeah, it's I'm sure it's great now to be on this side of it, and you guys have the system, and you can focus on growing the business and reaching out to concepts rather than just an individual restaurant. And saying, hey, like if you have like the Good Egg Group, right? You have however many, they Keith and Heather will do great things, and
We'd love to partner with you.
We'd love to partner with you too.
Yeah,
Dave, Keith, if you're listening.
If you're listening,
I've talked to you once.
Yeah, we've been in conversation with them. But again, there's a lot of different solutions out there, and I think we're still seen as kind of a smallish startup.
Sure.
Even though the quality of our product and services, I think, is really, really solid.
Yeah.
But getting that communicated to, big thinkers or larger organizations is a challenge for us.
Yeah. I mean, getting in the door and speaking to the right people is the hardest part. And
that's right.
Every restaurant's open, so you can walk in, but very rarely do you speak to the person that you need to speak to, and they're so busy that message never gets passed on. Which is
it's a process.
Yeah.
And then, like what Mark was saying, they're just so busy, it's really hard to get their attention. But that's where I just still see a real niche for our product, because we can take that order and print to the kitchen. They don't necessarily need to rely on the help that they're trying to find right now.
Right.
We kind of are becoming an arm for them.
Yeah.
They don't need somebody to man the phone and put that order into a POS or handwrite it and take it back to the kitchen. Well, we're effectively doing that for that restaurant.
So they can focus on the production side of things.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've had some interesting growth in areas that we didn't necessarily anticipate. So we offer room service now. If you're at any of the Oklahoma State Park lodges, they have foggy bottom kitchens there.
Yeah.
And we are the online ordering provider for Foggy Bottom, and they said, hey, we want people to be able to order from their rooms, and so they input their room number, we validate it, and there's like a big room service icon on the ticket, and they just take it to their room. So
how good is that?
Yeah.
That's because they've done the state parks thing. Foggy Bottom have done a great job.
Yes,
because when you go to state parks, the food has usually been trash, hasn't it? And now they've come in, and thankfully they've invested some money. The state has invested money in putting great restaurants in. Going to a state park and getting good food, and Foggy Bottom has that contract for all of them.
Yep.
So it's nice that who doesn't want room service, right? When they go to the state park and stay at a lodge. That's awesome.
That's been fun, and like I mentioned earlier, like I'll say yes to just about anything. And one client came on recently that's been dominating my my life and my stress level. Although I love it, is Sandoichi.
Yeah, tell us about that, because that recently happened in Oklahoma City, and some people definitely would have seen it if you love food and follow enough food bloggers.
Yeah.
I couldn't get down there, but it looks the first time I saw it was when Rachel headed down to Dallas before, about a month ago, and I was like, why are there strawberries in a sandwich? Like, and kiwi or whatever that is. I'm like, and no crust. It's very interesting. What is that? And then you said, they're coming to town and we partner with them.
So this grew out of Instagram. We've been trying this year kind of strategically to grow our social media presence, and as we were growing it, we started to use that as the direct messaging tool to try to use that as a sales channel as well. And we, one of our staff members kind of came across their site and was interested, and sent them a direct message on Instagram. And like so many things, like just the timing was right.
Yeah.
Like they had a lot of pain points in their process. They were using tools that really weren't designed for what they did. Not that almost any tool is quite designed exactly. Well, now it is.
They're forgive me if I'm jumping in here.
Go ahead.
Some of their operations team comes from the retail side.
Okay.
So they're really familiar with like inventories and selling out and Shopify. And that's what they were using. They were using Shopify to essentially collect their orders. They're dumping all those orders to spreadsheets, manipulating the spreadsheets, sending them over to the production team, printing them out on, these large, print papers to essentially fulfill the orders. And then when we contacted them and had that essential initial conversation, I was like, well, this to me is just a merging of our online ordering and catering technologies. It just kind of makes sense. And they're another one that's really kind of pushed us to become better. Because of their retail background, the way that they allow orders is they have a time. You can order, Sunday at 5:00 in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
And they sell out, within.
And they say we have 100 of these. This is how many. That's really interesting.
They set an inventory, and once they hit their inventory, they close down their site, and so. We've never seen that amount of traffic on our site before. So, when we had to find tools just to identify our shortcomings in our applications to make sure that we could handle their load. And we admittedly we're grossly underperforming, what we could do for them. And the nice thing is like we were able to find that out before we did launch with them. But that's just another example of the restaurant client has kind of really helped to push us to become just a better, more nimble,
Right, and have that tool now for
company.
any others that decide that they want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, I never thought of that. It's really interesting. So they came up there. How long are they here for? Are they just part?
So their model is that they travel from large city to large city.
Okay.
And they use their social media influencing power to attract foodies and kind of high profile people in those new cities, and they'll give them food to sample, and then suddenly they've kind of multiplied their reach. And so before they ever start, they've already done a great marketing job. Before they get there for that first week. They usually commit to a place for 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then depending on if, there's some good momentum going into the second week, then they'll oftentimes stay a third week as well. So we've given them a pretty good show here in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, I figured. I keep seeing it everywhere.
Yeah, and so they're going to stay here a third week
That's
as well.
awesome.
So we're excited. Yeah, we went... I got to take a business trip to San Francisco, which I don't get to say stuff like that every day. But that was their last place, and we were ready to go to production, and so I wanted to make sure I was there, just full service, ready for anything.
Yeah,
and
which none of the other big companies are doing, are they?
No.
They're not sending someone in that's developed the system to sit with you.
They're getting the white glove treatment.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, all of our clients are because we're locals.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But kind of met them out there, and we've been continuing to hone the details. And I kind of nudged them. Keith Tron is their owner, and their whole group has been fun to work with. But it's like, hey, you guys should try Oklahoma City. It's like, I know we're kind of a little brother to Dallas, and but I think it'll work, and we'll try to help you make it work here. And they were going to go to Denver, but their kitchen, they always had to find like a kitchen space, and there's a lot of logistics to it, and it just wasn't working out really well. So they gave us a call just a few weeks ago and said, hey, all right, I guess we're going to come to Oklahoma City. Can you help me find a kitchen space? And I said, yeah. I made one phone call, to the 84 Hospitality Group, to Rachel, and knowing that they had a space open, in the perfect spot in the I get them mixed up.
Plaza District.
Plaza District, yeah. And she was gracious enough to give them that spot, and it's kind of a weird relationship for one restaurant group to be kind of supporting another restaurant
competition.
Group. Yeah.
Especially in the plaza where like Rachel has everything.
Yes.
For the most part. Yeah.
But I think there's also just kind of the pride of like, hey, we're Oklahomans. Right. We want to show them a good experience here, and we just want to create something fun. And she's got that kind of mentality, and so it all came together quickly.
Well, and people don't believe every time you say Oklahoma's got great food, Oklahoma City has amazing restaurants. People are like, whatever. Like they just still don't believe that. And I'm like, read the articles, or come here and eat food, and you'll figure it out quick enough. And that's people like that. They take a risk to come here, don't they? And now they stay in an extra week, which proves to them and others that we have great restaurants here and great service and
good
great people
good
too.
Foodies,
So I guess finishing up, anything that you want listeners to know, to tell business owners that aren't using your product to use your product, this is your chance to plug anything you want to plug.
Yeah, I'll jump in. You may have or may not have heard, if you're out there ordering online, I would just highly recommend you going to the website of the restaurant and order from there. If you order from an application, like a platform application, a lot of that money doesn't go to the restaurant. They take a huge chunk, up to 30% of that order total is taken away from the restaurants. So I would, at the very least, Oklahomans, go to the website of the restaurant, and if they have online ordering, click on that button. That will really help the restaurants out. And if they don't have online ordering, tell them to call TapTapEat. So there's my plug.
And it's TapTapEat.com.
Yep,
that's right. And then at TapTapEat on Instagram.
Yep.
Cool. For everyone listening, I'll post those in the description. You can go right to them. Gents, thanks for coming in. Love the product you've created. Wish you all the best for the future. Hopefully no more pandemics. For everyone else, we will catch you next episode. Cheers.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
This podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, telling Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof. Also, huge shout out to RCB Bank for jumping on board to be a sponsor. RCB Bank's loan promotion is here for a limited time. Head into any of their 40 Oklahoma locations to get as low as 1.79 APR on your next car, boat, camper, or ATV. Apply online at rcbbank.com. RCB Bank, that's my bank. Rate and finance with approved credit. Restrictions apply. A member FDIC. Huge shout out to my sponsors. Thank you for listening. We'll catch you next episode. Cheers.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.